Do you take pride in the fact that you just figure it out as you go? Do you operate based off of your creative genius and act based on what seems like the best decision in the moment? Do you wake up every day and then decide what actions you're going to take in your business? If any of these resonates with you, this is the podcast that you're going to want to listen to today. And if it doesn't, and you're like, that's not me at all, stay here. I promise it's going to be worth it. I'm Melissa Franks, your On-Call COO, and this is the Opt-in podcast where we go from surviving to thriving inside a business. Today's topic is all about why having a strategy and a plan is going to be the vehicle for you to move further, faster in your business. I get it. I really, really do. I work with creative geniuses all of the time. And when inspiration strikes, you want to act on it right away. And the thing with inspiration is that sometimes it comes about because you are avoiding doing the thing that you need to do. Often, and this, I have seen this inside of corporate, I have seen this in small business, I have seen this with my children, mind you. A amazingly brilliant idea comes along and it gets run with. Everybody rallies around it. They get super excited. And then 3 hours later, 3 days later, 3 weeks later, 3 months later, you look up from said strategic idea and you go, well, now that we're here, what do we do? And that's because it was red herring. You got so excited about doing the new thing because you got to avoid doing the thing that you actually needed to be doing that you ended up in a completely different location than you intended, potentially with consequences that you didn't want. So I want to talk to you today specifically about what a strategy is, what a plan is, and why they're so important to the longevity, the health, and the growth of your business. So as I have mentioned to all of you in the past, I spent 25 years inside of large global corporations spanning many industries. You name it, I've spent some time there. You name the business function, I've spent some time there. I have seen things happen at the lowest levels of an organization all the way at the C-suite that would shock you. We're not spilling the tea on that today. What I can tell you, though, is regardless of your title, regardless of your ownership structure, regardless of whether you work for the CEO or you are the CEO, we are all innately human. And by being innately human, what I mean is that we are wired to avoid pain. And in business, pain is doing the work that's necessary that we can't stand. All of us have work that's necessary in our business that we cannot stand. When I worked in retail stores, one of the things that I really absolutely did not want to do ever, and I mean was clean out the fitting rooms. And the reason that I didn't want to clean out the fitting rooms is because you never knew what you were going to find. Were you going to find a dirty diaper that somebody left behind? Were you going to find a bunch of tags because people had stolen clothes while you had been working back there? Were you going to find somebody else's dirty clothes and not the clothes that belonged to the store? I could go on and on and on. I could talk to you about the time somebody urinated in the fitting room, but I won't. Needless to say, the one thing that I did not want to do was clean out the fitting rooms. However, there was an art and a science to it. So when I started managing people, I got really, really excited. I was like, I don't have to do the things I don't want to do anymore. But what I realized really quickly is that the best way to teach somebody is to demonstrate. And the best way to teach somebody how to manage said fitting rooms and to not have people stealing from you all the time, to not have people in there so long that they are changing diapers or urinating, or I could go on, is to teach them how to do fitting room management. And so what I found as a manager is I actually spent an inordinate amount of time doing the thing that I didn't want to do so that the business could achieve the goals that it wanted, which was a very low incident of loss prevention, which is theft, cleanliness standards, that we were getting really good feedback from our customers that they were able to come in and out of the fitting room and get what they needed in a timely fashion. I was able to monitor customer service and make sure that we were operating at the right customer service standard. All of a sudden, I realized that when I stopped avoiding the one thing that I did not want to do, what we actually ended up doing was reduced theft, increased customer satisfaction, and lo and behold, increased our sales. All goals of the business. And that is because I stopped avoiding the pain point. I share this story with you because I'm sure that it was riveting hearing about me cleaning out fitting rooms once upon a time in my career. But I share this story with you because there was a very clearly defined strategy and plan to achieve the strategy that we all understood. And so while I wanted to literally do anything, want to go to a garbage run to the dumpsters? Cool. That means I don't have to be in the fitting rooms. You want me to undress a bunch of mannequins with all of these massive pins where I'm going to be bleeding by the end of it? Cool. Means I don't have to go to the fitting room, right? But because there was a strategy and a plan in place, I understood that while doing those things was important, what was incredibly important was for me focusing my area in the place where I didn't love to be because it was going to yield the results and output that we were looking for. Okay, so with that said, we are going to talk about what a strategy is versus what a plan is and why it's so important that your business has both. So the very first thing that we are going to talk about is strategy. And specifically, when we talk about strategy, and we've talked about this word before here on the podcast, when we talk about strategy, what we are talking about is a master plan, a blueprint, if you will, to achieving multiple long-term results. Let's think about that again. A strategy is a master plan of achieving multiple long-term results. And here's the catch: with a heightened level of uncertainty. So a strategy is this big thing out there, right? Where there are many long-term results that you want to have. And you know what those results are. And your conditions are uncertain, which means you don't know how to get there. And that's where the plan comes in, because the plan is specific. It is a specific, detailed course of action that yields a specific result. So when I say that there are multiple long-term goals, let's say there are 3. There could be 30 plans for one long-term goal. Because that long-term goal is so big, the conditions around how to achieve it are so uncertain and so unknown that you need multiple plans of action that build upon each other to achieve the desired results. So the very first thing that I want to clarify is that this is not an either-or situation. I either have a strategy or I have a plan, but I don't need both. Lo and behold, friends, you need both. And do you know what comes before the strategy? It's something called strategic ambitions. And that is the big vision. That is the big, audacious declaration to the world, what you're trying to achieve. It's that big thing that's intangible, immeasurable, and yet it's the thing that you continue to strive for. Whether you are a shoe manufacturer and you're trying to create world-class athletes through the footwear that you sell, or you are a nonprofit that is trying to fix reading for all kids with all abilities worldwide, that is your strategic ambition. You can't measure that. There's no done there. It just is what it is. Okay? So once you know what that ambition is, then you say, so what are the long-term goals that I can define, aka strategy, to achieve that ambition? And you may create 1 or 2 or 3 or 5. Don't go any more than that. And those become the strategy of your business. In order to achieve this big, audacious thing that I have out there, these are my goals. And with those goals, with that strategy, what you define is what you're going to achieve, by when, and what the measure is for it. So you take this thing that's incredibly vague and intangible and you start to bring it into focus. It's almost like you're at the eye doctor, and you're sitting there in that uncomfortable chair with that crazy machine on your face. And it's got all of those lenses, and they put it on, and initially they have it closed because all it's going to do is give you a headache if it's open, because clearly it's not set to what you want to do. And then the strategic ambition is put together, and they move those dials around on your left and right eye, right? And then they take it off and they ask you to read something. And maybe you can read or identify that picture or whatever they put in front of you, but it's a little bit fuzzy, right? You know what it is. That's your strategic ambition. You know what it is. You know it's a bird, or it's the letter A, but you're not sure if it's an F or a D next to it or whatever. But you know that there's letters out there that you're supposed to be reading. That's your strategic ambition. And then they start to do the little tests that they do. Is it better 1 or 2, 3 or 4, right? And as they continue to make those adjustments, your vision starts to come into focus. So as you take that vague image, your strategic ambition, and you define your strategy, your long-term goals, your vision starts to become more clear. You start to be able to identify the distinct letter shapes. You're able to start to pick up the colors of the image in front of you, and you're able to start drawing connections the more clear you become. And as the refinement continues, you get to a place where you, in fact, have what is defined here as a plan. Because you've initially gone from vague and fuzzy to good enough to see, but you can't really see exactly what it is, but your brain's kind of figured some stuff out just based on what it knows. And then all of a sudden, bam, clear view. That's it. That's the perfect combination. That is your plan. That is the distinct action steps with specificity that are time-bound and measurable, that when you take them with success, you will achieve the result. And when you stack enough of these plans on together, you will achieve the long-term goal in the strategy. That's how all of this works together. Now, if you're still here, because we're 12 minutes in-ish at this point, and you're still here and you're like, okay, I'm tracking. I get it. We need the strategic ambition. We need the strategy. We need the plans. The next thing that you're going to say to me is, I don't have time for any of that. I don't have time. I don't even know where to get started. I don't know how to figure that out. And I just want to get stuff done. I want to put products into the world. I want to find clients. I want to sell. I want to fulfill. I don't want to do this. Okay. I hear you. And here's why you need to do it. Because when you start heading off somewhere, and let's say that you're in California and you want to get to Texas, and you just start driving, sooner or later, you're going to end up somewhere, and I am certain it's not going to be Texas. And why is that? Because you had an ambition to get to Texas. You had no idea how you were going to get there. You didn't define any goals. So in order to get to Texas, that means I need to get to Arizona by tomorrow. That means I need to get to me and my geography is really bad. I need to get to the next state by Wednesday, et cetera, et cetera. And that means I'll get to Texas by Friday. You don't have any of that. You don't even directionally know. So you're just starting off in your car. You're not even sure if it has gas or enough gas to even get you to the next place. Do you have enough money to go where you're going? This is what happens is you declare, I want to drive to Texas. I'm going to leave right now. And then you start driving, and then challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge gets in front of you, and you never actually get to Texas. So the strategy and the plan are what get you to your destination. So as much as you don't want to take the time to stop and think, as much as you want to just get in the car and drive, without being intentional about it, the one thing that I know for certain is that you'll never get to where you want to go because you didn't give yourself a fighting chance. So The first thing that you need to do is define that strategy. And this does not need to be complicated. I am not at the end of this podcast going to give you a little thing to click on and go build a strategic plan. I could do that. I have a 30-page strategic plan template. I could share that with you. I could walk you through it. It could take you 30 days, 30 hours, 30 weeks to get done. I'm not recommending that to you. What I am recommending that you do is you sit down and you say, what are my big goals for the next 18 months? Not 12, 18. And bonus credit if you can get out to 3 years. Y'all are small business owners, or maybe you work inside of a small business and things change too frequently for you to look 3 years out. That's fine. Look 18 months out. This exercise does no good if the time limit is shorter than that. Because remember, part of a strategy is that you're uncertain. Your conditions are uncertain. You don't know how you're going to get there. You don't know what's going to come up. You don't know what's in front of you. If you start looking 6 or 12 months out, you know what's happening. You know what's going on. You can accurately project. You're not thinking big enough. So sit down. What are your long-term goals between now and 18 months from now? What are your long-term goals between now and 3 years from now? 3 years from now, how much revenue do you want in your business? Do you want to hit $1 million within 3 years? Do you want to hit 10 million within 3 years? What's the goal? Okay. What do you want your offerings to look like? How many employees do you want to have? What physical locations do you want to be in? On and on and on and on and on, right? What are your long-term goals? That's it. Depending on how much thinking you've already done about this, you can do this in under an hour. This is not time intensive. And then once you have your long-term goals written out, then you say, do any of these need to come before the others? For example, if you say the goal in your business is to reach 10 million and you're currently at 1 million, so you want to 10x your business, and you have another goal that says that you want to be a best-selling author, and you know that to get to 10 million, you need to diversify your revenue streams. Well, that book goal, that author goal, maybe should come before the $10 million goal, because what happens with that author goal, depending on how you build your plans, is you write a book, not a bestseller. You write another book, not a bestseller. You write another book, not a bestseller. But you keep writing these books, and then you get speaking engagements. You keep writing these books, and then you get press. You keep writing these books, and your client basis expands. You keep writing these books, and you go viral on social media, and all of a sudden, you may not yet be a best-selling author. You may not have hit the New York Times bestsellers list, but you may be moving that needle from 1 million to 3. You may be moving that needle from 3 million to 5. You don't chase one long-term goal and work it until it's finished. What ends up happening is you chase that long-term goal, because the conditions are uncertain, it starts to help you move towards the other long-term goals. So all you need to do once you have them written down is figure out which order they need to be of importance. And then once you know that, you pick one and you say, so where are we going to start? What's the first plan of attack? In this example that I'm giving you, it is, I need to write book number 1. Great. How do I write a book? Because you can't do anything until the book is written. So then you build a plan to write your book. I'm going to write for 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week. This is how many words I have to get done. By this date, the book will be done. Cool. Then if you have a team, you can build another plan and say, so while I'm over here writing the book, who's going to find me a publisher? Who's going to develop the social media strategy? I could go on forever, guys. But do you see what I'm saying? So you have this massive goal to achieve $10 million in 3 years. You have this massive goal to be a New York Times bestselling author. And you know that in order to get to the 10 million, what you are going to need to do is get that book written. And so then you start building a plan about the books. Does it mean that you don't build a plan about how to get to 10 million? No, but what it means is that you're going to focus all of your energy and attention on that book path, at least for now. You see, the plan and subsequent plans that are built to achieve the long-term goal are how this entire stack of structure falls into place. I promised you I was going to tell you how to do this without it taking a lifetime, and I just did, but you didn't hear it. So to be specific, In under an hour, you can have your strategic goals written. Under an hour. That's it. If you take more than an hour, then you probably need to do some work really on what the purpose of your business is and that ambition that you have going on and get some clarity there. Because I'm talking to the people that know who their customers are, who currently have sales, who have clarity around what their business model is and who they're serving. So write the long-term goals. It shouldn't take more than an hour. Then in under 10 minutes, you figure out how they're related to each other and if one needs to come before the other. If you are in a situation where one doesn't need to become before the other, then just pick the one you want to start with. Just pick one. And I always recommend that you pick the thing you don't want to do, because likely that's where the most growth and opportunity resides. And you have the most energy around this right now, so do it at the beginning. But that's up to you. That's your call. So pick where you're going to start. And then, right? So now we know the long-term goal. And then we're going to say, okay, so in order to get to this long-term goal, how do I work backwards? So what happens right before I get to the New York Times bestseller? And then what happens right before that? And then what happens right before that? And walk yourself all the way back down to today. And now you have the major milestones that you believe, you're not certain, but you believe are going to be necessary to achieve that big long-term goal. And then you know where the beginning is. You know where you are right now. And you can build a plan to get to the next milestone. Because as you work towards that first milestone, what you will see is whether or not that was the right milestone. And maybe it was, but maybe the next one is wrong. And it will allow you to course correct as you go, because remember that you are in uncertain circumstances because you are attempting to achieve a strategic goal. Okay? So under an hour to get the long-term goals. Under 10 minutes to pick the one that goes first. It should take you maybe 30 minutes to brainstorm, if this is the goal that I want to achieve, how do I work myself backwards to today? And then you have a nice little timeline that has no dates or times associated with it. And you know where you are. And then take an hour and build a plan. Heck, it may only take you 30 minutes. So all in, 2 hours and 10 minutes to go from where you are today to having a plan of action that you can execute against. And now here's the last thing that I will say about all of this, because I promise this would be short and sweet, is that all of this is only successful if you know how you're going to measure results. So in this example with the strategic goals, one goal is within 3 years, you want to be at a $10 million gross revenue. Another goal is within 3 years, you want to be a New York Times bestseller. Fantastic. Those are the key metrics. Okay. Now you're going to build a plan. And maybe one of your plans is that you're going to write a book. Fantastic. The measurement is the time, how you bind it in time. So if you are going to write a book, then the measurement is that I'm going to write my first book, my first draft of my first book in 30 days. Don't do that. That's crazy. 60 days, 90 days, you pick. And then you'll build another plan for how you revise the book. And you'll build a timeline around that. And that will be your measurement of success. And maybe then you also have a measurement of success at that point that a copy editor has reviewed it and has approved it for publication. And then maybe you have other plans for how you're going to market the book. And that includes creating the cover and the copy and the marketing strategy, etc. Right? Like, I don't know, but all of those are going to have metrics too. And they're not just going to be time bound. They're going to be results driven as well. And as you go through this process of each plan can have defined metrics and a timeline, you will be able to measure your performance. This does not need to be overcomplicated, but if you build a plan without measurement, you never know if your plan's actually achieved. And the whole point of a plan is to get a specific set of actions done to achieve a specific outcome. So you can write a book, but if it's garbage, did you actually achieve and close out the plan? You can write a book and you can do a whole bunch of revisions, but if a copy editor isn't going to approve it, are you really ready to move to the next milestone? See, this is what I mean, is that your plans have to have defined measurements that are empirical so that you can ensure you can end one project and start the next. But as you go through and you keep line of sight to these strategic long-term goals that you have, and you begin to execute plans, complete them, start new ones, complete them, start new ones, complete them, you move closer and closer and closer to your goal. And remember, because we're creating many small plans and not one big plan, that when uncertain circumstances show up, because they're guaranteed, because that's the definition of a strategic goal, you'll be able to adjust your plan. And ultimately, if you need to, you can adjust your strategy. This is all just a way to put in some boundaries, to set some intention and direction, and for you to test as you go. Now, with all of this said, if you decide that you want to run fast and loose, if you decide you just want to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, if you decide that you don't want structure and you don't want goals and you don't want measurements, you do you, boo. You do you. What I'm going to tell you is that the businesses that stand the test of time, the businesses that grow, the businesses that have amazing brands, the businesses that have amazing reputations and fanatical clients, those businesses all started with strategic ambition and strategic goals, and they leverage plans and metrics and data to ensure that they're getting the results that they're targeting, because they know with certainty that executing consistently, staying focused on the prize, is what enables their business to grow. It's what creates excited, delighted, long-term clients. And ultimately, it's how growth can happen. I hope this podcast was helpful for you today. If you are struggling to create a strategy or figure out what plans you need to put in place for your business, I have good news for you. Right now, for a limited time, I am offering free consultation calls for any small business owner that needs a little bit more advice and direction for their business. You can click on the link in the show notes and schedule a call today. Until we meet again next time, friends, please know that you are wise, you are strong, and you are capable, and I believe in you.